Hi, April.
Unmute. Oof. Got clothes on. Oh, we're not. Oh, we are. Never mind.
You even brushed your hair.
It's clean.
I shouldn't say that while we're... Just so you guys, select board is aware, we did confirm the animal control. Well, maybe I should turn it over to Linda. Linda, do you want to explain the animal control and animal inspector situation?
Yes, so you all appointed the animal control officer back in March, but there's also an animal inspector. So yes, so that's the term that expires at the end of April. It term runs from the 1st of May through the end of April. So that's a separate position from the animal control officer.
Okay.
Okay.
I figured there was something.
Yes. Yes.
It's going through the minutes.
Yes. Thank you, April, like, for doing that.
As an aside, Linda, your minutes are so readable. You know, it just, I don't know how you do it. You capture, you know, the content and spirit of the meeting so well.
Thank you.
And as you know, I think I've read all of them for the last 2 years now. All at once. I mean, it's like reading a book.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Melissa.
I'm just checking and see. I think I only have 1 page participants at the moment. Shall we call ourselves to order? Excuse me. Shall we call?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to shut that curtain behind me real quick and get some glare on my screen. Hold on 1 second. Not sure if it's 100% helpful, but all right.
That looks good.
The lighting's good now, Melissa.
Better? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, sun's an ever-moving object. Okay, so Becky, I know we just talked a moment ago. We do have one unexpected thing to add to our agenda. It's a letter from Leverett dealing with the culvert. So we'll add that in at the end.
And I also was hoping we could approve the article I wrote for our town, because that's due tomorrow, yes.
Okay, I'll write that here.
And I have to leave at 6 o'clock. And thank you. So thank you for accommodating my schedule and moving this meeting up till 5 o'clock. I really appreciate it.
So we'll make sure we get through everything by 6 then, or try to anyway. So the first topic we have on our agenda is the select board discussion regarding public comment and public participation guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
April, you sent a very good document, and I have here the back, which would be the back of a printed agenda. Also, I can put it up on the screen if anyone wants to. But where would we like to start our conversation? I had a thought today. I noticed something in Zoom meetings, even in a business practice, but go ahead.
No, I was thinking maybe we could all share our thoughts, you know, so yeah.
Okay, so let me start with the thought that I had today, is that I noticed Zoom makes things feel so much more casual than sitting in a room with people. So that was the thought I had today. I happened to notice the change in atmosphere, thinking about this topic on our schedule today. And I know we had some issues with the last select board meeting, got out of hand and was a little bit of a, I don't quite know what to call it. And I know we want to get that under control so we can conduct our business more timely and such. So those are kind of my initial thoughts, and go for it now. Go ahead.
I share that. And I thought it would be, I sent those Robert Rules of Open Meetings, and I realized that what we have is really very similar to that. That I think Michael put that together. And I think that was a really good basis. I also wondered if when we have a bazillion people, if maybe the vice chair could be responsible for, people raising their hands and sort of keeping that flow so that you, Melissa, don't have to be doing both. If there's a way that we could share that.
That's a great thought. That's a great thought.
And I also thought that, I hope, because, it felt awkward to try, how do we refocus what we're doing? And I think if we give each other permission, if it seems like, we're getting the same thing over and over, or if people are going way long, that we could each feel free to speak up.
Oh, I think we should always feel free to do that. More as a team effort, yes.
And I thought, sort of in honor of Elaine Puleo, we could have one of us be the timer, to just make sure, because public comment is really, really important. And I think we have, it's an important, it isn't always nice. And that can be kind of off-putting and alarming at times for me. But I think it's important to have, and I think we can support each other with it. I asked Penny if she could email me, the blessing she used to say before town meeting. And she did kindly. And I thought, sort of coming back to sort of focusing each other. It's not helpful to have people, saying, misleading things or defaming things, or just, blasting constantly. It's hard to hear. So that's kind of where I was at, that maybe it would be like more of a 3-ring circus or less of a 3-ring circus.
Let's not have more of a 3-ring circus.
So yes. Are you suggesting, I think I wrote down as you were saying that, April, that maybe we have a similar blessing like Penny had, that we have a select board one we read or just
sort of
post it or something. Okay, at the beginning of the meeting. Okay.
And really hold comments to a set amount of time, and make sure everybody who wants to speak gets to speak, and people we won't necessarily have time for everybody to speak many times. That meeting was 4 hours nearly, and I think people can make comments, and we can do it in a shorter amount of time.
And the other thought I had too was if we have a topic that might be one that might pull a lot of public participation, maybe we can keep our agenda shorter so we can allow for a little more, if we're looking for a little more public comment on a topic or something.
That's a good
that
idea.
was just kind of, keep, like tonight's is very housekeeping oriented, very should be relatively quick. And so maybe we just keep an idea of public participation on a particular topic. And if it's, say solar or something large, then we keep our agenda a little bit smaller for that meeting. Is just a thought.
I guess,
Rita, do you have anything?
Yeah, I sort of disagree with the approach of having a whole lot of discussion, public discussion, public engagement during the course of the meeting, because I think what it does is it gets us off track, gets us off schedule, And so, you know, if we're going to continue to do that, which it sounds like that has been the policy, that it really is limited, and that we don't, you know, it's not multiple times one person's talking. We have limitations, as has been suggested, as to the length of time, and that we really encourage people to, you know, to engage with us via email. We've heard from lots of folks, lots more, you know, in the last couple of months than in all my time before that on the this last year on the select board, and that's really helpful. I think that you know, it takes some of the kind of emotion and out of having to speak if people can present things to us in writing, because you know, it's very discouraging. That was a very discouraging meeting for me, to go on that long and kind of walk away sort of shaking my head. I think public participation and public engagement is wonderful, but there is business that the select board needs to conduct, and it should be done in a timely way, and not in a 4-hour meeting. So I think we just have to be a little bit more disciplined around getting our work done, in addition to, you know, allowing for people to, you know, to comment, but there should be limits put around that.
Well, sort of, you know, in referencing the amount of email we get, is we don't have a way to really respond other than saying we got your email, because it has to, we have to do it in open session. But I wonder if we could, you know, draft responses that we could, I don't know if that would work, if we could funnel it through the town administrator. Because I think
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, here's a thought. There, oftentimes, or at least right now, the emails are in a particular, about a particular topic, a couple of different topics that we're receiving, right? So I think we might be able to draft a response to those sending them in for those. That could be one response for most of them, because those emails are coming in relatively the same comments. You know, there's not too much differing, right? So maybe that could be something that could be done in that way.
Because it would be nice to be able to correct misinformation. You know,
I agree.
That's been really troubling, and not to be able to find a way to do that.
Melissa, one other thing I just wanted to add in terms of civil discourse is that I think that holds having some sort of statement at the beginning of the meeting. You know, it holds for the select board, but I think it holds for all town committees. And I think it would be something that we could share and ask other committees to honor when they started meetings around respect, listening, and the sort of the chair's prerogative around, you know, limiting discussion.
And have it, I think, on the website too, you know, openly available and can be read, you know, too. So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Because essentially, I think it's easy for people to lose sight of, you know, we're your neighbors. You know, we are also impacted. You know, we're not an external government. We are your neighbors.
And we're volunteers.
Yes, and that too. That's right. And I just hope people have a sense that we really are working with our best intentions. You know, there's nothing nefarious happening, you know, in town involving anybody. But we really are doing the best we can. Not that we don't need input, but just some belief that, you know, we're your neighbors.
I agree.
Melissa, can I ask something?
Yep. Well, actually, this was something I also was a thought too. I think as we discuss each topic, I think the three of us should decide if we will take public comment on an item. You know, I think that might be a good practice too. So each time we move, if we feel like we want to invite public comment. How do you feel about something like that?
I think that's a
it's a very good idea.
So I'll take a practice that. Michael would like to give us a comment. Are we at a point where we want to take public discussion on this particular topic, or
have we come to some kind of a consensus?
I wrote down a few ideas. I do like that. So let me give you the thoughts I had as I wrote down. So before we go into that question, I think it's a good idea to have a vice chair, or if there's just two of us in a meeting, because there might be a time where it's just two, that the other person does help watch raised hands and such. Might be a great idea, and a team effort, so that any one of us can say, hey, let's redirect back to the agenda item. I think that's a great idea. And then coming up, and this would be more of a thing we would have to approve in our next meeting, or a board meeting, is a select board version of Penny's blessing. To Rita's thought, I think maybe to keep the comments narrowed to our agenda topics and keep our meetings narrowed, that maybe what we could do is, ask the members if we want to have public comment on a particular agenda item. And if we say no, then we just move on, or we invite it, maybe looking at the time of where we are. I don't know if that fulfills that kind of, does that help as a solution, Rita?
Yeah.
That particular item? Okay. And then the emails we had talked about, but I think that's something we would handle separately. But then, so that's kind of where I thought we were kind of landing.
And I also think it's important to have real time limits on how long people talk. What we have now, and it is online, though it's 3 minutes tops. And I think it's up to us to enforce that.
I like that idea. So does that sound kind of like a kind of an agreement? Maybe I'll type it up and, give it out and see what your thoughts are in a larger draft, if we want to have it as a permanent living document.
Yes. I guess the only other thing, Melissa, is just a reminder, and I think you do this at the beginning of every meeting when it is the public comment period, of reinforcing that we're receiving public comments at that time, but we're not engaging, that there's no back and forth. So just, again, reinforcing that with the public. I think it's been pretty clear at every meeting, but it doesn't hurt that.
It doesn't, yep. Okay, I'll add that in there. Sounds good as a start anyway, to get something more formalized.
And I wonder, would it make sense if people want to speak, is to have them use the raise hand function?
It might be a good idea.
Like somebody in the corner is
now my question is to the group, because I'm the whole group can see Jeff's hand raised. Yes, shake your hand if you can see Jeff's. Okay, I know okay. All right, I was just curious. I'm all right.
So that would be a policy, if just using Zoom.
For Zoom, yeah, Zoom.
When we're in real person, people could raise their hands again.
Yeah,
that will happen.
Use raised hand function. Now here's the thing with those on the phone don't have that option. So
so maybe it would be up to the co-facilitator. That could be the vice chair,
or maybe a stop and asking if anyone who's calling in, do you have a comment, if we're gonna, and yes, because we don't have a lot of people that call in, but there have been a few here and there. So maybe it's stopping and asking specifically for that group.
Yep, I think that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else we can think of before we, all right. So to ask the question so we can start using some of these rules tonight. do we want to open up for public comment on this particular agenda item?
I'm okay, but it's brief.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Well, how brief is brief? Like 5 minutes?
Total.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll watch the time.
Okay. Thank you, April. I did, the first one to say he'd like to speak is Michael. So Michael, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 people. Go for it.
Cool. Thanks. So I just, the point that you raised when I was raising my hand was exactly what I was going to say. I think when most people want to participate, and if they're trying to do it productively, they don't know where to plug in. So it is helpful, I think, either if there's no open comment at the beginning, like there isn't tonight, or at the beginning of a topic, to say we'll be discussing it, you know, we'll be entertaining comments. So to Melissa, what you just said, but at the beginning, so people know, you know, no one quite knows how to engage meeting per meeting, you know, what's appropriate, when to jump in, when to raise their hand. So if you can give the guidance and say, we won't be taking comment, we will, it'll probably help with time management.
Okay.
And then the other little thing.
You have 30 seconds.
I was trying to find my raise hand thing and I don't think I have it available. So that might not work all the time.
Okay.
We can take a visual hand too. It doesn't have to be just the, yeah.
Okay, so I think Jeff was next.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to talk really fast. I think maybe some instruction on how to use the raised hand at the beginning of a Zoom meeting might help the participants. I think your max should be 2 minutes. I think whatever needs to be said can be said in 2 minutes. Planning board, we always have a general comment in the beginning in case people just want to say something and leave. And we also do answer questions if we can quickly. If we have the ready answer, we'll answer a question. We won't insist that we don't speak. Planning board has been through this a lot in 2006, 2008, and then more recently in 2015 to 17 on the zoning and on the WHEELOC. We had extensive public participation, and I actually think we got a pretty good result both of those times. And I'll just end by saying, I think Deacon handles it very well. Usually the last thing he says at a meeting is, does anyone else have anything else they'd like to say? And people are very satisfied that they've been heard at planning board meetings. I think that's a good way to do
it.
Okay. John? Would it be John and then Penny, I think. You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you for the opportunity. As somebody who's never been a town official or volunteer of any kind, I do have to say, though, I think it's crucial as a citizen that I have access to my elected officials in a setting like this, not just via email, but in a way that other interested citizens who are also involved in the same topic can hear what I have to say. I wasn't part of this last meeting that I understand turned into quite a bit of a circus. Perhaps there might be some kind of pressure valve that can be opened with a special meeting so that the people can get together and have their say on a topic that does not take time away from town business at the same time. When it's this, when it's like the solar installation, when it's that contentious a topic, or like the library, say several years ago, there's a lot of pent up energy, and I think there needs to be some kind of release for it. So that would not take time away from business, but would allow everybody a chance at least to be heard, not just by the officials, but by the rest of the town who's interested in the topic. Okay?
Thank you, John.
Have a good meeting.
Thank you, John. Penny.
And that would be a public forum kind of thing, John. I like that idea. I'm a product of the city of Northampton's meetings where the public comment was limited to a certain number of minutes at the beginning of the agenda. The public wasn't invited to speak again because in the interest of getting business done, but certainly the select board could call on someone if they wanted information or feedback when you know that someone's there with such information. So I think you're moving in the right direction, and I thank you for letting yourselves get your work done and also finding ways for people to respond.
Thank you.
So we have 1 more minute.
I see Gail's hand up. I don't see anyone else's. Jeff, don't forget to put your hand down.
I think this is really going in a good direction. I am concerned about one thing though, and that is the remark that there was not to be interaction back and forth, but that leaves you no place to correct misinformation if it's brought to the meeting. And I think one of the things you want to do is to be able to clarify or make accurate statements about whatever is being brought to the board. So
I don't. Yeah, that was fine, Rita. Go ahead. Yeah, so it was no back and forth during the initial public comment period. So that's at the beginning of the meeting. It's not when we're on a specific agenda item. So I'm differentiating between those two things. I mean, we're still going to have public comment at the beginning of the meeting, and that's when we don't. Indeed. But if we're going to continue to take public comments during the course, or public, questions during the course of the meeting, then naturally it is you can engage and answer. And my recommendation is that those questions always go through the chair, or if you designate somebody else, Melissa.
Yep. So our 5 minutes is up.
Yep. I think we're ready.
Yep. Okay. All right, let me get my agenda here. The next topic is the review of the town administrator contract. So we had this before us the last time. We deferred it to this one after having an executive session. So we have that out of, Becky has sent this to us. Do we want to open it up between us for discussion on the contract? Okay, so why don't we do that?
So I can move that we'll accept the town administrator's contract as was amended, and then we can discuss.
And I second that.
Okay. So do we have any further questions or discussion that we would like to have an open meeting related? I did, just so the two of you know, I fixed the formatting on it and I sent it back to Becky. Did not change text. There was a couple of lines that were on a blank page. So just so you know that. Okay, no further discussion or question? Yeah. All right. Do I hear an all in favor? Or wait a second, let me ask about, I've got to get into the practice list. Do we want to take public comment about this particular agenda item? Good needs no prompting. You're not feeling it?
No.
And I don't either. All in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stein, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Okay. Moving on to receiving the zoning amendment from the planning board for town meeting. And I know we got a copy of it, and Michael, are you prepared to speak quickly to it?
You're muted.
Just quickly.
Jeff I had a point of order about the last thing. It's not a question, it's a point of order.
Well, we've moved on to this item now, so we're going to focus on this particular item.
Right, but there's no public. What was the contract? Like when I came out, you were in executive session. It seems like you should report out. You're voting on something, but the substance was not stated.
Okay. April and Rita, do we want to go back into that agenda item and talk about the substance? There was a small edit to the contract out of that. But that is a negotiation though, so I don't know that we can discuss that.
But now it's a contract,
right?
So you've approved it. You should say in public what it is, because there's negotiations in private and executive session in private, so no one knows what the contract is.
Thank you, Michael.
Let me bring it up on the screen, my screen. Well, the contract is the same as was run down before. There was a change in the compensation line, and that was the one amendment that was made.
Yeah. So the raise is done over 2 years.
And then there was also an addition in terms of
yes, I'm sorry.
Goal setting and
yeah,
annual review.
I did not scroll far enough. So under the conditions of employment, there was a sentence added for evaluation process with the chair of the select board. I'm sorry. Thank you, Rita. I didn't scroll far enough down. So that was the two different changes. Does that answer your question, Michael?
So to confirm, it's 3 years, and what's the total? So like those are the highlights.
Would be 5% the first year, 4% raise the second year, and the third percent it would be the COLA.
The third year would be the COLA. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, shall we move on to the next one? Okay. The zoning board, the zoning amendment for the planning board was brought to us. It was an amendment that I believe, if I remember correctly, adjusted access. Jeff, can you just give us a very short summary?
Okay, thank you. I have, today I wrote up a short three-paragraph explanation of the zoning bylaw amendment for access, because apparently Grace has been fielding a lot of questions from people who are concerned about it, suspicious of it, and I wanted her to have something to use and for us to use before and after the hearing, so that people know what we're doing. Would you like me to share that, or would you like me to paraphrase it?
Paraphrase it.
Okay. Shutesbury has 4 zoning districts: Lake Wyola Town Center, Roadside Residential, and Forest Conservation. The first 3 all have direct access to town roads. So if you're going in with a driveway, you can do it right from a town road. The Forest Conservation District is all landlocked. It's 500 feet or more back from town roads. So you can't get into it other than crossing one of the other 3 districts. This came up in the solar discussions because the large-scale solar is only permitted in the FC. And as a matter of zoning law, the access is deemed a part of the use. So a driveway that runs from a town road back through the RR district where solar is not allowed is actually solar in a district where it's not allowed. And that was inadvertent. We didn't intend that. And that is a problem for any use in the FC that's not allowed in the other district. So what this does is simply establish that if you're proposing something in the FC that's allowed there and not allowed in the district you have to cross to get to it, that access, including drainage and utilities, will be handled in the same way the permitting is for the FC use. So it's sort of an exemption to that quirky part of the zoning. So your driveway can be permitted along with whatever you're doing out in the FC district. And so the language makes that clear. And it's solar neutral. It has really nothing to do with solar. We would have done this years ago if it had occurred to us.
And we're accepting it to put on the warrant. Becky, correct? We're putting on the warrant for Homing. Okay. Do I hear a motion? Oh, go ahead.
Right now, we're the select board has to accept it for the planning board to move ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hearing.
That's correct. Ultimately, down the road,
it will be put on the warrant.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept it? Accept the amendment.
So moved.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Do we want to talk about? Do we want to invite public comment for this agenda item? No. Rita, do you have a?
I'm fine.
Okay. All in favor of accepting the amendment?
Carol, aye.
Stein, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Okay.
Just a point, just a question. When do you expect the hearing to be?
We're kicking around 3 different dates. We're, I think, hoping that it's in May. So
May 26th, I think, is the preferred date.
Yeah. Early as possible.
Right. And I think that is almost early as possible you can do.
Right. Yeah, Tessa's working on it.
That's a quick question. I don't know if you have to send it back to you accepted it. I think you have to send it back to us. I don't know if that takes a vote or not.
To send it back? Yeah.
Because we have to receive it from you before we do the hearing. But I don't know if that's just silliness or a technicality or what.
All right, we'll do a technicality. Do I hear a motion to send it back to the planning board just so we're covered?
So moved.
And I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stein, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the animal. I'm sorry, we're going to pass over to animal control officer. We did that the last meeting. So on to the recycling committee's request.
I think Linda's waving.
Oh, Linda, I'm sorry. Where are you? Oh, there you are.
You're muted, Linda.
Thank you. It's animal inspector.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So we'll that was down further on the list. I'm sorry. I should have brought it up.
Yeah.
Okay. So do I hear a motion to appoint the animal inspector, who is Nancy Long?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, or I'm sorry, any further questions or discussion? Linda, do we need to do anything other than appoint? Okay. So all in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stein, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Just to be consistent, do we want to invite public comment on this agenda item?
No.
So the next one is recycling committee has requested the select board to end bulky waste days.
So I will move that we will end bulky waste days.
I'll second that.
All right. Any further questions or discussion? It appears that the Leverett transfer station option has been very successful.
I guess my question, Melissa, would be, have we heard anybody who was upset by this prospect, or do people know that this is happening?
I haven't heard anything.
No, I haven't heard anything.
And how will it be communicated then? Is there, it will go onto the town website?
There'll be a town announce, the town website. Okay. It's in the newsletter. And I think they've already begun, well, they're ready to roll with those town announcements.
Yeah, and maybe when they're handing out, when trash bags are being handed out, there could be just a notice there that says no more.
That's a good idea.
That we're not going to have bulky waste, and get your Leverett transfer sticker, because I believe you can buy that at the same time you're picking up your bags, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it'd be a good way of marketing the transfer station.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay, we're all in favor, or all in favor of ending the bulky waste day? Did we already vote? I'm sorry. Okay, yes. I'm sorry. I didn't check it off. Didn't check it off. So the Amherst Regional Notification Letter acceptance. I was just going to bring this up. Becky, do you want to give us a little rundown of this particular item? I'm just going to try to bring it up if it's in our email.
Okay, I think it was originally earlier, so it wasn't in the last meeting. I believe it's the notification for the debt that had already been approved by the school committee, and they just send out a letter. They require the select board to sign to make sure that the information was received by the town.
Okay. Just recite all three of us, or just the chair?
I'm sorry, I have to look at the form. I think it's just your signature.
Okay. Yeah. Right, I'm gonna mark to sign that.
Yeah.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept or to sign the Amherst Regional Notification Letter?
So moved.
The debt acceptance, okay.
Second.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Do we want to open up, before we open up any public comment on this one? No? Okay. All in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stein, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. The next item we have is to make police study appointments from the Personnel Board and the FinCom. Becky let me know that Susie Mosier has volunteered in their last meeting. Susie, thank you for the FinCom position. on the study committee. So do I hear a motion to appoint Susie Mosier for the FinCom rep on the police study committee, our study group?
So moved.
And I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Questions? So do we want to take any public comment on this particular item? Okay. All in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stein, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. And then we have a personnel board member also to be appointed to the study group. Becky, I'm going to ask if you were able to get a hold of George.
I haven't.
Okay. So the one caveat with this one is the personnel board hasn't met to decide who the person would be. It was going to be Ralph, but he has since decided to resign. Thank you, from the personnel board. So in talking with Becky, we were going to, as a temporarily appoint George until the personnel board could meet and give us a voted member for the study committee. So that was the thought we had. Do you two feel comfortable doing that? The personnel board is meeting on the 13th.
So explain to me why it would be George.
The reasoning is George is retired. Peg declined doing it the last time. She didn't want to do it. Melody may want to do it, and the only thinking there was a family member is already on the committee. Her family member's already been appointed to the committee. So just for the interim until the personnel, that left George, and Melissa's already on it through the select board. So there's 4 people left, and but keeping it open so the personnel board weighs in, and if they decide someone else, then the select board at their next meeting can make that appointment, which would be, I think, the 18th.
So George is not aware of this.
No, he wasn't home when I called.
Even better. No.
It was only a temporary appointment until, you know,
it's just to hold the place, because it's important to get this meeting, committee started.
So we could either wait until the 18th, and hopefully the personnel board will have a quorum on the 13th.
Did we have a timeline of we have every other committee member?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel awkward just doing any kind of temporary appointment without having had contact with him. I think we should go ahead, get a meeting scheduled on the books, and then for the police study committee, and try to work that when we think the personnel committee.
Schedule it till we have all the people lined up, because we don't know if they'll be available.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, I agree with Rita. It's awkward to, you weren't here, so we appointed you. Yeah. Even though I know that's not the rationale. That is not the rationale.
Well, and that nobody voted, that the personnel committee didn't vote, so.
That's right.
So we'll hold it, I guess we'll hold it open until the 18th, Becky, and then we'll make sure that's on our agenda for the next one.
Yeah, and I'll let all the other people on the police working group know what we're waiting for.
Okay.
And then,
all right, so this is the next agenda. All right, so the next item, I see that Walter has popped in, is the select board review for vote on the update of the electronic comprehensive emergency management plan. Oops. So this one is that Walter had sent us a very lengthy document with updates in it. Walter?
Yes.
We're a little ahead of schedule for this item. Do you want to give us a very quick rundown of the electronic comprehensive for those that haven't read through it?
Sure. It's quite an inclusive document. I had one for years filed with MEMA. Originally, they were just paper versions, which was a 3-ring binder that was about 3 or 4 inches thick. They switched over several years ago to an electronic version. It was never had to be, it's never had to be voted on by the town before. It was just something that was done, and MEMA had, you know, just gone ahead and filed it. This year, they rewrote the whole thing a little bit, make it more user-friendly, a little less cumbersome. And but they do require that the towns sign off on it, and that's partially to make sure that somebody other than just the emergency management director knows that we have the plan and what it is and what it consists of. And actually there is going to be a sheet that everybody that gets a copy or has a part in it has to sign off saying they understand their role. You know, once it's been approved by the select board, then I will get that other piece of paper around. That's not something that is required to be filed with it with MEMA, at least not right away. They're more requiring just to have the signatures of the select board.
Okay. And all three sign it, or just the chair in this case?
Just the chair in this case. And I think there's one sheet that has the chair and the town administrator, chair of select board and the town administrator.
Okay. So
there's two places to sign it.
Okay.
And once it's done, I will update the actual information on that page with the name or the date and all that, and leave the hard copy up there for you to sign.
Okay. Thank you, Walter. Do I hear a motion to accept the update to the electronic comprehensive emergency management plan?
So moved.
Okay. And I didn't hear a second. Rita, did you want? Oh, you're muted.
A little noise in the background, sorry. Second.
Okay. Any questions or discussion that we want to participate in, or any public comment we want to invite? Okay. All in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stein, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Thank you, Walter.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Those hard copies up there either tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay. So we've already done the animal inspector, which was at the bottom here that had moved up. So now we really have the letter from Margie in Leverett. Becky, do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown on that?
Yes. So Leverett has has received their Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Action Grant, and they applied, well, they're in the process of applying for a new culvert to be constructed on what is Shutesbury Road in Leverett and the continuation of Leverett Road through the S curves. So it's a very important culvert. They know it's a main road access point for Shutesbury to get into Amherst. And so they've asked us, asked the select board if they would sign a letter of support, and I can read it to you. They supplied the template letter. Their letter asks that the Shutesbury Selectboard support their MVP action grant application to restore the natural stream bed of a tributary of Roaring Brook as it passes under Shutesbury Road in Leverett. The current culvert is failing and a hindrance to natural fish and wildlife movement. So it's a very important project for both of our communities. And so they've brought it forward to you to consider. And it would be signed by the chair of the select board.
And there's no monetary, we're not asking to pay for no, this, just in support.
They're not asking us to foot the bill of any kind. They're just asking for support as a support letter to be included with the grant application to help bolster their grant acceptance.
Okay. Sounds like a great idea. That's covered right at the town line. Is that
it's okay, so it is a part of the well-traveled road. No, I believe it's farther down.
Oh,
farther down.
Okay.
That's right. And do we expect that would be a big traffic headache for us when that happens?
Yes.
Everything would be rerouted.
Yes. I don't know for how long, because they're just they haven't done the engineering for it, so they don't have information on the details of what would happen. But we could imagine it could be at least a few weeks.
Okay, sounds like fun.
I'm rerouting a 1-lane road and through there.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to sign the letter of support for the Leverett?
So moved.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion question? Do we want to open it up for public comment? Okay. All in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stein, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Okay. And then the next thing before minutes would be the article for our town newsletter. April, I know you sent it to us. Rita, did you have any edits or anything?
No, good.
Okay, it was good too. I thought it was great. So do I hear a motion to approve April's last article for the?
Yeah. So moved.
And I'll second that. I could be a consultant.
Writing consultant for the select.
Free consultant.
Careful. Yes. Okay. All in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stein, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Thank you, April, for doing that for us. I appreciate it. Okay. And minutes. The minutes we need to review are the.
We don't have minutes tonight.
Oh, we don't have minutes. Okay.
No, I put them in because you never know what's, lightning could strike and Linda could have gotten it 24 hours, but they're not ready till the next meeting.
Okay. And our next meeting is on the 11th at 5:30. Is there any other things that we need to add, move, talk about?
I just had a question about whether or not we, Becky, if you've been in touch with Zardelling yet when we talked about having some sort of a solar.
I have not confirmed with her. I sent an email, but I haven't heard back from her yet.
Okay.
But I just sent it today.
Okay. Anything else that we need to ask or cover in our meeting? Okay. All right. I'll type up what my little notes here and we can go from there with more structured meeting format if that is good for the two of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Do we want to have any public comment before we end our meeting?
We have a few more minutes, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Penny, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You have to unmute yourself.
I was just sending you.
Oh, okay. I just saw a hand up in the corner.
I think that you need to do something else to allow the public to raise their hand. It's not available, I don't believe, in this format. We can send reactions, and I'm congratulating you on a lovely meeting.
Thank you. Maybe we should put some instructions up on our website. Maybe I can find some official Zoom things. So maybe we'll figure that out. We'll get some instructions and stuff up there. We'll figure it out. Okay, thank you, Penny. Are we all set? Walter, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, it's just if you click reactions in that little box that pops up, it has to raise your hand and lower your hand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Huh, look at that. I've never actually used those.
I only have the choice of 6, and it's not the hand raising.
So,
Okay. Because right in the box that pops up on mine, right underneath that, in that same box, it says raise hand.
Yeah, mine too.
No.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, there's always the old-fashioned way. All right. All right. Shall we adjourn our meeting?
I move that we adjourn.
And I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stein, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Becky, go ahead and send me that thing you want me to print.
I will do that. Okay. Thank you.
See you guys on Tuesday.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Linda.
Oh, you're welcome. Sorry, I was busy typing.
Good night.